The film is A Most Wanted Man, and the director is Anton Corbijn, talking about the film. And in that first clip, we get a sense of some of the tension in the film. And again, you don't want to give away the entire, all the plot points of a thriller that kind of builds in this way. But maybe you have an opportunity to give us a little bit of a sense of what you were working with or trying to explore. And having not read the John le Carré novel, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, the movie, first of all, is set in Hamburg, in Germany, because the pilots that flew into the World Trade Center here were based in Hamburg, and they let them slip through the net, as it were. So the security system in Germany was reviewed after 9/11, and that's what we're dealing with in the film. Bachmann, the Philip Seymour Hoffman character, is the head of one of these secret services units. And what we see here is that the Rachel McAdams character, who's a human rights lawyer, takes the possible terrorist, Isa, from one safe house to another, and they're being followed. We shot it in an area of Hamburg called the Reeperbahn, which is a kind of red light district. And they escape to a club. In the club, there's a song, you might like it. It's an 80s song by a band called DAF, DAF, that stands for Deutsch-Amerikanische Freundschaft. That means German-American friendship. And of course, it's really interesting that the film was shot in 2012. In 2013, all the revelations from Snowden came up about the NSA snooping on the German people, and even on the private phone of Chancellor Merkel. And even last week, the head of the CIA stationed in Berlin was thrown out of the country. So there's a lot of that German-American stuff going on at the moment, and the film really deals with a prelude to that, I guess. So it's now it's live imitating art.
Yes. I don't want to leave out some of the other actors you work with because it's an exceptional cast, I think. Maybe tell us about some of the other casting choices you made and going through that process of trying to find the right actresses to play these key roles.
Yeah, so Philip was in a way quite early on, and Rachel too. Then I searched a long time before I had Robin. Robin Wright plays the CIA operative in Germany, and that's an important role opposite Philip. Then we have Willem Dafoe, who plays an Austrian-English banker, and that's kind of against type, I guess. But Willem is such an amazing and versatile actor who I'd known for almost 20 years. And I went to see a play that by Bob Wilson called The Life and Death of Marina Abramovic, which happened to be in Amsterdam. And I went there that evening and I had a drink with Willem afterwards. And I thought, well, that would be... He was so amazing in that. And I thought, wow, why not let an American play this role? So that was the main actors. And then, of course, the Russian guy, the Isa character, that was quite a find because I wanted to have an unknown actor, but from that region. So that took the most time, I guess. For the rest, there's a lot of great German actors in it, Egyptian, Iranian, and Germans. Yeah.
Do you? You mentioned sort of evolving into a filmmaker, and I wonder, as a follow-up to kind of the conversation we had at the beginning about going from a certain type of creativity, photography, to filmmaking, and now, embracing aspects of what might be called like an action or thriller film. It's a type of genre. What is your comfort level now when you are casting or when you're directing a scene like this? It's a long way from shooting a photos at a concert to staging a scene like this.
Yeah, I think it's a big step from documenting something to actually arranging something.
Well put.
That is a big difference, and I think by nature, I'm a viewer. I'm kind of introvert, and so there's a lot in me that I have to find in order to do these things, and that's a really interesting process, especially when it comes later in life. It's really exciting, I think. So it's a big adventure to do movies. I've just done another film that comes out next year, so I feel more comfortable with the medium, and I can see better what's possible, I guess, for me, and also what I'm interested in.
I'm curious to have you elaborate on the process of working with actors as well, because you talked about learning from an actor like Philip Seymour Hoffman, but tell me about the kinds of conversations you have with your cast, and how you work with them to achieve the goals that you have for their character, how you help them find their characters, or do they find it and bring it to you?
Yeah, it's a combination. I think you ask an actor for a certain reason, and you want part of the character of the actor also to come through in the role. So I think the initial conversations when you cast them are the most important ones almost, because you want to see if they're comfortable with that role a certain way. And then, the actors tend to be of a level that they bring so much to the table that you usually only have to steer a little bit. There's no reinvention of it. And I think it's a bit the same in that sense with photography, because I have ideas, I want people to do certain things, and then I let them be. So you have a kind of still a kind of naturalness to the process. And with film, I try to do that as much as I can as well. Obviously, there's sometimes people need more help, and other times actors will show me things I didn't think of. So you have to be very open, I guess, unless you maybe write the script totally yourself, which I don't do. You might be more precise with it.
On the visual side, I'm curious to find out how you work with another photographer, how you work with a cinematographer. And I don't know, actually, if when you were making making music videos, or were you always shooting yourself, or did you work with other photographers as well? And how has that process been for you now in feature film, as you've been having a cinematographer?
Yeah, no, a lot of the music videos I shot myself, but maybe a quarter of them or a third. That was a difficult process, I guess, to trust somebody enough to let them decide on some things. But at the same time, I think I'm quite anal about how something looks, so I will always be involved. And this film was a bit of an exception, so it was less. My first two films, I think, were very obvious coming from a photographer. So the composition was a big element of the film. Here I let more loose, so we did everything handheld to get a sense of urgency, which I think was important for the subject matter. But at the same time, you get some kind of intimacy, because the camera becomes something over someone. And I really enjoyed it. It was a French DOP that I worked with. And my new film that I just did on Tanner Stock and James Dean, also again I used a different DP with a lot of handheld stuff. So I let go a little bit of that, the control over the visual side to a degree.
Can't be easy.
No, but I think when I say visual side, I actually mean the composition. The visual side, you're very much in control of, I guess, by a lot of the choices you make.
Are how close do you stick to the script, and how much is locked down before you shoot a scene, or to what extent are the actors or others on the set influencing? Is it a fluid process, or does it feel pretty locked up when you call action?
I think with rehearsals you already feel a little bit what works well, and there were quite a few little rewrites on this film because it was quite complex, and we felt through the film how certain things developed better than others. Like the role of Nina Hoss, the kind of right hand of Philip Seymour Hoffman in the film, her role became a bit bigger, and for instance, in the film there's a apartment where Philip Seymour Hoffman lives. That was never in the script, but I really felt it was really important to have a bit of a background on him, where you see that he's well read, he has interesting jazz records at home, and it's an intelligent man. Also the beginning of the film, the very beginning and the very end shots I thought of while we were filming that was also not in the script.
Mm-hmm. I have to ask you one more question about process as well, and that is film versus digital, working in different formats. How you feel as a creative person, as a filmmaker, as a photographer, in the change that's happened over the time period that you've been making work, and how you've adapted to it as a creative person.
Well, I have to say, in my photography, my still photography, I still shoot on film.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Exclusively?
Exclusively, yeah. So I like that tension between making your photograph and then not knowing for quite a few days what the result is. I grew up with that, and it never felt like a job. And now I get photographed a lot, and people take your picture, and after a few shots, they look at the back of the camera and say, "Okay." I don't think there's a sense of adventure left, which I like to have in my life. With film, it's different because, like with this film, we shot it on digital because there's a lot of night shots in, and digital is fantastic for nights. But then again, I still love the quality of film, but I'm not so principled about it when you shoot film as opposed to stills. Yeah. When we talked earlier, I forgot to say that to make a script of a John le Carré book is really difficult. And I think Andrew Bovell, the Australian scriptwriter, did an amazing job with that, because the books are so densely layered, and it's very hard to put everything in a 2-hour film, so you leave some elements out of the book.
You have to make a lot of choices.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I want to watch another clip, and then I want to make sure we leave time for questions from the audience.
Sure.
So this other clip is called "The Clock is Ticking." Do you want to set anything? Give us any guidance about this clip, or should we take a look?
Well, funny enough, the clock is always ticking.
Yes, but, our clock is ticking here. Right?
This is a scene in a holding cell, a scene between Rachel McAdams and Philip Seymour Hoffman. And one that I really like, and I think Philip is tremendous in it.
Let's take a look at the second clip. Don't want to give away too much, or people won't be able to see the whole movie. So
they have to go and see the film.
As I mentioned earlier, we're here at the Apple Store Soho talking about A Most Wanted Man, and Anton Corbijn is our guest. I mentioned that for those who are watching on the podcast on Apple. I'm curious to see what the audience wants to ask you, and to see whether we'll talk about this film or maybe other aspects of your process or other work you've made. So if you have a question, there are microphones on both sides.
John le Carré's books are dense, and I'm really fascinated with how you managed to figure out how to strip this down to make it a manageable film. Did you get a chance to work with him as well as your writer working with him, or did he, because he's listed as the executive producer, so I'd like to hear about your interaction with him or the book.
Yeah, well, I met with John le Carré a few times, also before the script was going to be written, and one of the first questions I think he asked is who did I think was going to be the most obvious main character, because that in the book is not as clear as in the film. So I choose Beckman because for me that was the person I wanted to see the film through, and then we got the script writer involved, and we, for instance, took out the English Secret Services out of the book because it's, you could probably make a TV series out of the book of like 6 episodes or something. But if you have to condense it into 2 hours, you have to leave things out and make things clearer. It's exciting, and sometimes you think, well, maybe we should have gone the other way.
Hello, Anton Corbijn. My name is André Arends. I'm a fellow countryman.
I can tell by the accent.
As you are. No.
Yes, sure.
I know a lot about, I followed your work from the start till now, and I'm curious because I'm a musician. I'm curious about the musical aspects, because obviously you're very musical also. about the musical aspects in editing and in the following in the tempo of the movie.
Right. Well, I think that you generally edit a film and then add music to it. So if you feel that it slows down, you probably use some music that makes it feel like it's going faster than it actually is. Like with the chase scene we watched, we have some music under it that feels like it makes it very fast going. That's a score. We had Herbert Grönemeyer, the German musician, who wrote the score for this film. He also wrote the score for the American, and that worked amazing. So he also was a film star at some point. He was in a movie called Das Boot. So he understands the process. And for the rest, I'm very precise with the songs I use. And you might find it interesting that in every one of the first 3 films I've done, there's a Dutch song in, because I felt that wherever I've arrived, whatever that is, on this platform, wherever I got to, it's because I loved music so much. And when I was in the 60s and 70s, and there was a couple of Dutch bands that made me enthusiastic about music. So that's my way of thanking them by putting one of their songs into my films. And in this film, it's a song by a band called Brainbox. The last one was Cupid and Blizzards, and then that was Super Sister. For those who want to know. So yeah, I pay a lot of attention to the music that's in the films, both score and songs. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for coming out and talking to us. I was curious about if you can expound on the handheld rig that you're using and why, how the studio was with with going in that direction, and why you decided in the past 2 films to go that way. Well,
first of all, it's not a studio film. It might look like that because in America it's bought by Lionsgate. But we made the film before Lionsgate was involved. So these decisions had nothing to do with the studio. It was my decision, and that's how I wanted to shoot. And the producers were very supportive of that. And these things are made for a reason. They're made to make the film better. So in general, people support it. I mean, handheld can mean you go like this, but it also can mean it's a little bit more fluid, and that's what we try to achieve. And we had a cameraman who was very good at that. It's amazing. I mean, I think you achieve a lot more with the handheld stuff because because it's faster, you don't have to put tracks down or any of that stuff. I really enjoyed it to work like that. It was unusual for me.
Hi, I was wondering, could you talk about the next project? You already actually shooting a film, but talk about the movie Life you're working on, about the James Dean and the relationship with the photographer Dennis.
Yeah, I won't spend too much on that, but yeah, I did a new movie called Life, and that deals with the relationship between James Dean and Dennis Stock. Dennis Stock was the photographer for McAdams who took the famous picture of James Dean on Times Square. So it's about the relation of these 2 men, how a photographer looks at his subject, and how that works. And as a photographer myself, it was something that interested me.
Hi, Anton.
Hey.
Hi.
Sorry. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Ines.
Hi. I was wondering how you prepare creatively for a movie like this compared to Control and the American, because I can clearly see your visual style or your creativity in the first 2 movies. But I was wondering, on a subject like this that is not necessarily as stylish maybe as Control would be, how do you prepare? Like, do you still find images that you show people that you like, or how do you?
No, not
where
so
does
much.
it come from?
I actually don't really use a lot of references at all. All I wanted here was to make it an autumnal kind of film, so the autumn colors were important for me. And I pushed filming of the film towards autumn. because they wanted to film in summer, but I persuaded Philip to help me, saying he couldn't do the summer, so we pushed it to autumn. That was a very big, important creative element for me, actually, because it influences how you look at the film, these colors. But I wanted to get away a bit from the photographer making a film, so I was happy to let it be looser, and that's what Handheld really did for me. You know, and the autumn thing was not just the colors, because it's, and I've said it before, to me the film feels like a pointer towards the autumn time for mankind. You know, I'm a little pessimistic here, I think, about the world, but that's what I wanted to be part of the look of the film and the message of the film. You know, as you know, I mean, everything you have, the clothes people wear and all these things, and you know, everything is part of the creative process. The ashtray on a table, you know, all these things. But it plays now, so you use not a lot of old references. But you know, you give Philip an old car. You know, the clothes he wears. It all helps making that a specific character. You know? Yeah, it all bits of colors on the canvas. Yeah.
Hi. The photos you've taken of Joy Division were all obviously black and white, and then Control also you filmed in black and white. So I was just wondering, just your personal, was it obviously in some way for atmospheric reasons you had the black and white, but your memories of that time, because you were there through the process, are they black and white or are they color?
No, my memories of when I came to England in the 70s, it was black and white, and that's why Control was in black and white. But, I mean, there were also practical things to do with that, because there's no photographs basically of Joy Division in color, so I think it was correct for the time. This film would have suffered if it was in black and white, I think. So, you know, photography, black and white is still my preference. Color is always a surprise. You know, when I do color, I never know what it's going to look like. So, yeah. In black and white, I feel quite secure, I guess. So it's sometimes interesting to do color just to throw that bit of security away. You know?
Well, the film is called A Most Wanted Man, and the director is Anton Corbijn. I invite you to not only see this movie, but The American and Control, if you haven't. There's a wealth of videos and photography that Anton has also created that I think are worth looking at, because you can see that kind of trajectory or that path that you've been traveling as an artist, Anton, for so many years now. And so just it's wonderful to see it now in this form, and we will look forward to see it in your next film as well. Thank you for spending some time with us here at the Apple Store, Anton Corbijn.
Thank you.